Hey everyone, we're back in the Wick editor and we are finishing up on the bouncing ball project. So I'm going to cover two things in this video, how I did the color fill and then adding in a shadow effect for the bouncing ball. So I'm pretty much already done here with the ball being all filled in with color, but I'll show you how I did it. I could have gone onto my clean animation layer and just gone ahead and used the paint bucket, the fill bucket tool, and just clicked on every single frame and gone through and done that. I like to maintain the flexibility though, so what I did was I created a brand new layer, renamed it color, and then I just went in and went to each frame and then colored it that way. So you can see here this is frame 2. It is not colored in. So I just clicked on add frame. Oops, click down here, add frame, paint bucket tool, and then click to fill it in. Let me grab the color here. And then there you go, just like that. And then it basically just went through. And that's great that it's on a separate layer because it adds to the flexibility and looks pretty good. Okay, so for the shadow, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add a new layer, rename it shadow. There we go. And for this, you could hand draw the shadow. However, I think for this one, I'm going to use the ellipse tool. I think it's a good purpose for that. It's going to make it, really perfect. Won't be very hand drawn, but I think it'll work. Okay, so I'm on my shadow layer here, and I'm just going to take the ellipse tool, and I'll go ahead and I'll choose not quite pitch black, but something a little bit close to that. Like that. There we go. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want the shadow to really be about the width of the ball. We really want it to measure that. So one thing you can do, since this is a vector-based animation program, is you can take your ellipse and you can put it right about the width of the ball, which is really handy. And then you can adjust it, and I'll put my shadow layer above just so you can see it. So there it is there. And I can adjust the width using the cursor tool, so that way I can get it just about right. And again, it doesn't have to be pixel specific, or it doesn't have to be pixel accurate, but pretty darn close I think is good. And then once you've got it, you can go ahead and bring it down and take a look at it. Okay, so generally you're going to want the shadow, of course, to be directly underneath the ball because we want it to match up right. And you do want to follow basic physics, which is that when the ball is higher up in the ground, that the shadow is going to be smaller. When the ball gets closer to the ground, the ball is going to get larger. So one way you can do this is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to have the shadow just track the ball from left to right. Then I'll go back and I'll do a second pass with the shadow and I'll make it shrink and then get larger. So here's the first one right here with it right underneath. And actually I'll show you another neat little trick that you can do. I'm going to go ahead and take the line tool and I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line right from the center of the ball right to the shadow. Now I don't think that you can actually do a perfectly straight line. I am trying to hold down the shift key and that doesn't seem to make it go perfectly straight. So I'm not sure if you can do a perfectly straight one. That's kind of strange. I wish they added in that feature, but I can't seem to do that, so I'm not sure why. So we'll just have to eyeball it. Okay, so I'm going to take this, so this is my guide here, And I'm going to go ahead now. So now that I've got my guide for the ball, and I've got my actual shadow here. Let me zoom in just a little bit and move the shadow down just a little bit. Okay, good. So this is the setup. Go ahead and save. All right. Moving on. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the comma and period keys to make a to get to the next frame. So what I can do is I can select the shadow by clicking on it with the cursor tool and hold down the Shift key and click on the line, the reference line, and then I can press Command C to copy it. On a Windows or Chromebook, be Control C. Once I've got those there, then I can go to frame 2, and let's see if I can just paste them. So you can paste them, and it also creates a new frame. So now that I've got it there, now I'm going to go ahead and I can just use my arrow keys and just shift the line and the shadow over. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. There we go. Okay, so again, copy, go to the next frame, frame 3, paste, and then I'm just using my arrow keys to shift it over. So it becomes pretty easy. Again, copy, next frame, paste, move it over. And I'm using the arrow keys to move it over just because it's a little more accurate than grabbing it with the mouse and having it shift over. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and I will come back when I'm done. Okay, so I'm back, and basically there it is, just our sort of our tracking pass. Go ahead and press play. Okay, so there it is, and you can see the reference line in there. I think it's working out pretty well. Okay, so now you would go through and you would do course cleanup. So just going through each frame and deleting that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and deleted the reference line so you can see it now. The shadow looks like it's tracking it pretty well. So now what I would do for the final work on the shadow layer is to have the ellipse get smaller as it's higher up and get larger as it comes down. So again, I would just go in here one frame at a time. Resize my timeline here. And just click on the shadow layer with the cursor tool. And you could go ahead and just click and drag in. The nice thing is that when you drag in on the right side, like I'm doing right here, it decreases it on the left side as well. So that works out pretty well. So this part I'm just kind of eyeballing there. And then again, as I go through, it might be helpful to turn on the onion skinning. So there's my onion skinning right there. I'm going to go up here to the editor settings, go to the editor tab and change the style to tint. Tint. And then close that. And I'll save. So now you can see, and it's nice because we have the red and the blue, so you can really kind of discern it. So with the shadow, the onion skinning is really, really, really helpful. So I can see how wide it was in the previous frame, and the future frame doesn't help me too much, but I can see the previous frame, so I can go ahead and have it be a little bit more. There we go. And just keep moving along. And remember, we do want it to get bigger as it's getting closer to the ground. The biggest it should get, of course, is when it actually hits the ground like this. And now I can go ahead and I can widen it just because it's squashing. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video again, and I'll see you when I'm all set. Okay, so it's subtle, but you can notice it. So you'll see it going through there. I think it feels a little mechanical, like it's sort of sliding along. I'd like there to be a little bit more life in the shadow, if that makes sense. So what I think I'll do is, instead of just changing the width of the shadow, I'll change the height of it as well. So for instance, because the width is changing but the height isn't. So what I'll do, and then I'm going to wrap up the video, is I've changed the width, but now I want to actually change the height as well. So with the cursor tool, I'll just come down here and I'll grab the bottom of the shadow and I'll make it a little bit thinner vertically as well. And I think that will add in maybe the life that I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll finish that pass up. And then in the next video, I will show you how to add in sound effects in Wik. It's really cool and it's very easy, and I'll just add in some bounces or boings for when it impacts the ground. And then maybe we'll add in one more layer for some impact marks. So it really looks like it's got kind of a nice cartoony bounce to it. So I will see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.